Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Masterclass. Today is Monday, May 2nd. So we're starting a new month. Welcome to this platform essential series. And today we're going to highlight account orders and positions in charting. My name is Jesus Nava, the Director of Client Training and Education here in TradeStation Securities. And it's always a pleasure to talk about TradeStation technology, especially on a Monday, right? So we're all excited about this topic. We're going to talk about the technicalities and how you can modify the information that you see in charting so that you can keep an eye on your entries, exits, and any open positions that you may have. Before I get started, here are some important disclosures. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about is for educational purposes only. It is not a recommendation of TradeStation. Also, that active trading is not suitable for everyone. There are some products that are more risky than others, and we need to be aware of them. Past historical performance is no guarantee of any future results. And for additional information, you have a whole bunch of links here that you can reference. www.tradestation.com/important-information is one of the main pages that provides you details on these disclosures, to make sure that you keep a note of them. Okay. Thank you guys for being here. Let's go ahead and switch over to my TradeStation platform. And here it is. So account orders and positions. For a moment, this morning when I looked at the title, I thought that we were going to talk about the position graph bar, but then reading the title more carefully, it said, no, we're going to talk about account orders and positions in charting. This is a feature that is turned on by default in a TradeStation chart. So if you haven't turned it off, then there's nothing you need to do to enable it. And what it does is that it keeps track of every single trade that you do in your account for the symbol that is loaded here on the chart. So as you can see in the example that I'm showing to you, this is a chart of Twitter set to a daily time frame. Now, as you can see, I trade Twitter as an example many times. Every time that I trade it, I'm going to see a marker, like an arrow on the chart, letting me know where I entered and where I exited. Now, as you use TradeStation, you're going to become more familiar with the colors that we use, and you'll be able to identify what a long entry, a short entry, and what an exit is. But just to let you know, and anytime that you see a blue arrow, that's going to be a buy order, a long entry. Anytime you see a red arrow, which are not that many in this Twitter chart, let me see if I find one. Scroll here to the left. All right, I'm just here. Here's one. Okay, I know the arrows are a little small, especially on the presentation screen, but here I have a red arrow, which is maybe one day that I decided that I wanted to, short Twitter. You can tell when the trade happened by clicking and dragging or clicking and holding on the background of the chart. This will give you the data tips window. The data tips is really nice because it gives you detailed information on the bar, including any trade information that it's marked on that candle. Since I saw that red arrow at the top and I said, yeah, this is my short trade, I can see what that trade was all about. Well, first of all, I bought, it says here that I bought 700 and then I shorted 600 and then I sold 700 and then I covered 600. So there's a lot going on in this particular bar. This is March 31st, 2021. I'm not really sure if these were all single trades, if I traded those 600 and 700 shares all together at a time. I'm going to assume that it was separate trades. If you wanted to see the details of how you traded, certain trades, because if I look at this bar, there's a lot of activity going on here. And the data tips window, since it's focusing on just one daily bar, is going to give me all the trades grouped together, the buys, the shorts, the sells, and the covers. So let's go here to March 21st, 2021, and see what was going on that day. So let's go over here. Let's do a 30-minute time frame. All right, I'm going to have to load back. Let me load back 2 years of data. Okay, I see PD right here on the top left corner. The PD in yellow just lets you know that there's pending data. I wanted to go back 2 years since this is year 2021. If I had gone just 1 year back, it would have taken me to May of 2021, and I wanted to go to March 2021. I could have just done, 18 months or something like that. But let's go here to, what year is this? Doesn't tell me what the year is. Okay, so this is 2021. I see the months at the bottom. I'm going to go here to March 31st. And here's March 31st. Okay, I still see a lot of trades going on. Let me go here to a 5 minute, maybe a 1 minute time frame. And I'm going to go back the same 2 years. This time it should load faster because the data is already there. But let's go back here. So this is March 21st. Yeah, this is 2021. I know that, there is a feature that TradeStation users have asked for, which I think it's really necessary, especially when you're looking at data in cases like this. Like I want to jump to March 31st, 2021. And as you can see, I have to give my chart a lot more detail. I have to scroll back, try to locate my place on the chart. It would be so much nicer for me to type in the date, maybe in a box or somewhere that has or makes the chart go to that specific date in history. All right, so it's March 31st, not 21st. So here it is. Okay, so this is March 31st. And as you can see, this is my trading activity. Let me zoom in and see what was going on there. So let's use the magnifying glass. Zoom in right here. So you can see that I bought 100 shares, and then I sold the 100 shares, and then I went short 100. But then on this one, I covered the 100 and I bought 100 for the next bar to sell. Hold on. So on this one, I covered and then I bought 100. So I'm long 100. Then I sold, or I bought 500. It's a shame that they're not in order, but I suppose that I bought 500 after that, making my position size 600. Then I sold it, and then I shorted 500. So you can see that at any given moment, if you want to drill down and see the details of a particular day, especially if you're looking at a daily chart, you would have to increase, or in this case, select a more detailed time frame. In this case, I'm looking at a 1 minute chart to see what those trades were made of. So let me go back here to daily, because then on a daily time frame, then you see what happened. Let me go back here to March 31st again. This is a daily. So on March 31st there, you can see all the trades there just grouped together. It just tells you how many buys, how many shorts, how many sells, and how many covers. So as I was saying, this is a feature that's really cool because it tells you where you entered and where you exited the market. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some more recent trades. I wanted to, first of all, explain the differences between the blue arrows and the red arrows. So we already know that those are long and short trades. The white arrows are my exits. There's no difference, or there's no different color. Let's put it that way. There's no different color for a short exit or a long exit. So they're all white. So whenever you see a white arrow or white marker, that's just pointing to the candle where the trade occurred. There's a couple of things going on here, which is very similar to what we do with strategy trading. But on account orders and positions, which is your historical trading activity, I'm going to zoom in so you can see exactly what I mean by that. When you look at a particular candle, you're going to have this marker letting you know which candle the trade occurred. But inside of the candle, you also see another marker with the same color of the main one that tells you exactly what price your order got filled at in relationship to that candle. So for example, if you look at over here where my entries are, you can see that they both happened at approximately the same price. And if I click on hold, you can see that that price was 38.65, somewhere inside of that candle. So for every trade that you see in history, you're going to have two things. You're going to have the marker that points to the candle where the trade exists. And then you have a little pointer towards the candle itself, letting you know what price your order was filled at. Okay. Perfect. And in addition to showing you historical trade activity, another nice feature that it gives you is real time open positions. So if you look over here on the far right, I know that I'm long 100 shares of Twitter. I'm losing about $43 on that position, but it tells me, the price that I got in at, that's the one that is highlighted in yellow, 49.53. And I can see that the current trading price is 49.06. So I'm about 48, 47 cents away from my entry price, which is what's generating that loss of $47. Does that make sense? So yeah, very useful information. Useful until it gets in the way of your analysis. So on the daily chart, if I were to squeeze the chart here, a lot, if I do any type of analysis, let's do maybe I add a study and I'm looking at, let's do moving averages to lines. If I look at something like this, then you can tell that my account orders and positions are kind of in the way and they're obstructing my view of what's happening in the candles, and it's kind of cluttered. It's really tough to see the crossovers and those moving averages with all the different arrows that are printed on the chart. So if at any point you want to remove account orders and positions, this is something you have full control over. In fact, on my TradeStation, I have that feature turned off by default so that every time that I open up a chart analysis window, it doesn't have it. It's not turned on. So it's not until I actually want to see it that I want to turn it on. So to turn it on and off, you go to the settings button here and you see the option account orders and positions right on it. So I'm going to click on account orders and positions, and this will give you the ability to turn the status on or off for any symbol that is added to the chart. On this chart, I only have data 1, or I only have Twitter. But if you use multi-data charts a lot inside of TradeStation, you'll see all the data symbols right here on this list. I only have one, and as I said, checking and unchecking the box of their status will turn that feature on and off. Let me go ahead and put it off, click OK, and you can see that it just strips the chart out of all that information. I don't see information on my open positions, which is okay. If you have something that it's more of a longer term positions, you may not need to see that position information all the time. And maybe if you are also sort of a swing trader, you probably don't need to see your entries and exits. Although if it looks different than mine, where you have some actual trading strategy and you have entries and exits that really mean something, maybe having those historical markers does make a lot of sense on your chart just to see where you entered and exited in the past. So if I go here to settings and I go to account orders and positions, I'm going to turn it on. The way that you turn these feature off or on by default is by clicking the checkbox here at the bottom that says automatically enable account orders and positions on new chart analysis windows and for new data series. So this is checked by default, and all I did was uncheck it so that it doesn't automatically enable account orders and positions. Does that make sense? So use a checkbox at the bottom to make it, fixed or not. Let's see. Other pieces of information that are really important here. Let me go back into, a shortcut to go to account orders and positions would be to double click on any of the markers that you see on the chart. I do this a lot when I want to customize a strategy. Rather than going to studies and clicking on edit strategies, I just go here and double click on any of the signals that you see on the chart. So double clicking on and I mentioned strategies because strategies look very similar to account orders and positions. And if you have them both on the chart, it becomes really, really confusing to see which one's which. So let me just demonstrate. I'm going to go to studies and add strategies. Let's suppose that I'm using a moving average 2-line cross. I'll use this one. I'm going to do the long entry and the short entry. So now on the chart, I have not only account orders and positions, but I also see signals for my strategy. Sorry, excuse me. I still have, a little bit of that cold from last week, so I apologize for that. And I can feel it already in my voice. So I tend to be a very quiet guy. And in these sessions when I'm speaking for, 45 or 60 minutes straight, I can start feeling that. So I'm sorry if my voice gets a little raspy here. Let's go here to my magnifying glass and let's take a look at some different type of signals. Okay. Because you're going to need to be able to differentiate them, so that you can know which one's which. The markers that have a little circle right there on the end of the arrow, not the head where you see the pointing towards the candle, but the actual bottom of the arrow. Well, this is the bottom. If it's the arrows at the top, it would be at the top, but it's more like a circle or a dot. That one that has a circle of a dot is account orders and positions. So if I were to double click on one of the arrows that has a little circle in the body, it takes me to customize account orders and positions. You see? Now, there are some other arrows that don't have that little belly. It doesn't have that little dot or that little circle. They're more like squarish at the very end. If I double click on one of those, it takes me to customize studies and strategies. So keep an eye on them. I would suggest that you put a strategy and account orders and positions and try to identify the differences between the two. One is going to be completely square and the other one is going to have that rounded edge. Now, if I go over here to account orders and positions one more time, you're going to see that, thank you, Marie. You're going to see that you have a settings tab. We were on the data tab. That's where you turn it on and you turn it off. On the settings, you can control everything about account orders and positions. Starting with filled orders. Filled orders is whatever you see here on the far right. I have mine checked, display position arrows. Actually, no, let me take that back because that would be an open position. An open position let's clarify this a little bit because the least I want to do today is confuse you guys. So at the very top, you have order status. So filled, open, queued, canceled, and expired all refer to what the status of your orders are. So anything you do here will pertain to how you want those orders to be displayed on the chart. So when I highlight filled, this is my filled orders in the past. Wherever you see that rounded edge arrow, blue or red, that is exactly what filled controls. And we have the checkbox here that says display position arrows, and I can customize. Customization, it's really interesting because in the entries, see you have a tab here on the far left. In the entries side, you have an entry type, which is buy, and the others sell short. So make sure that you're looking at the right, not only entry type, but you're also looking at the right tab here on the far left, because not only can you modify buys and sells shorts as entries, but you can also go to exits and you have a regular selling transaction or a buy to cover transaction. So there's 4 different places that you can go to specify which type of signal is it the one that you want to modify. This is the entries and buys, and you can see right here the display of the arrow, and it does allow you to change it if you want a little bit more prominent. So let's say, for example, that I want to use this circle one, just so that it's very different than the one for my strategies. And I can change the color too. This is the color that we use for strategies. What if I wanted to use something a little bit more cyan? And same color here for the entry tick. What is the difference between the entry arrow color and the entry tick color? Well, the entry arrow, I think we talked about this, is the arrow itself that is pointing either from the top of the candle or pointing from the bottom of the candle. The entry tick is the actual little tick that points against the candle, letting you know the exact price of your order. So you can change those colors independently. Now, remember that if I just change the buy and I click OK, only the buys are affected. Take a look at the arrows here. Now I have the magenta circle. If I want to change, the short entries, I have to go back in there, make sure that I go to settings, filled, customize. I'm going to go to entries, but this time I'm going to go to the sell short, and I'm going to use magenta for that. And for the arrow style, I'm going to use the same one, but it's going to be magenta. So now you can see that I have those magenta and cyan circles letting me know where my real trades are, as opposed to the blue and the red little signals here that still remain the way that they were because they are not real trades. They're strategy trades. Okay, keep that in mind. And for the selling transactions, again, same thing. These are all filled orders, so make sure you leave it unfilled, customize, but this time just go to exits. And if I want to make my exits this type of style, I'm going to leave it on white. Make sure that you go to buy to cover to do the same thing. Okay. Perfect. All right. So anytime that I have an exit, which is a simulated trade, in this case, I'm connected to the simulator, then it'll have those specific styling preferences. And this is very very good to do, especially if you have, or if you're running strategies in addition to looking at your trading activity, your history, because then you're setting them apart. There's no way that you can confuse them because now you're using not only a different style arrow, but you're also using a different color. So good way to keep them separated. Let me go back in there and let's go through the different customizing options. You can display the order lines, which, sometimes, and this is why it's unchecked, because that's just adding more clutter to your display. But if you want to display the order lines, it will show specific, orders as they're submitted and where they're submitted. I find that, enabling that just makes the chart a little bit more cluttered. So sometimes I just leave that off. And right over here, when you go into the settings and choose the color and the style of the arrow, you can also disable and enable things like the signal name and making sure that you can set that as a default. I'm not setting it as default because I want my defaults to continue to be the same as when you install TradeStation. But if you've made your mind and you said, I want everything to look the way that I want, just make sure that you set it as a default so that every time you open up a new chart, it'll have exactly the settings that you want. We have this checkbox that says connect reversal to corresponding entry. So this is what connect one trade to the next, and it shows you if the trade was profitable or not with these colors. And the line can be dotted or it can be a solid line. You can choose pretty much anything you want to change the style of those lines. But at a glance, when you look at a chart, it's pretty cool if you have those entries and exits and you have these dotted lines connecting your entries and exits to let you know if you're trading well or not. If you see a lot of cyan lines or dotted lines, that's a good sign because it's a winning trade. But if you see a lot of red dotted line, that's not a good sign because it's a losing trade. All right, that's in the filled area. For the open orders are always shown on the chart by default. That's a feature that I do like. So for example, I have a position on Twitter. We already established that. We bought them at 49.53. If it drops to 45, I want to get out. So let me go ahead and send in a trade for Twitter. I think I have this on link. Let me go ahead and right click. In my last class, I showed, or asked the experts, I think it was, we talked about symbol link. And I like my trade bar to be linked so that if I'm looking at any symbol, the symbol is automatically populated. So this is from 100. I'm going to say this is my stop market order, and my stop price is going to be 45. I'm going to sell those 100 shares. So that is an open order, and you can see that it shows up with a line that has a lighter shade of red, but it tells you what the price is, and it gives you an expected profit or loss. So if I were to drop over here with my 100 shares of Twitter, I will lose about $453. So how do we change that? We double click on it, and these are the open orders. So first of all, here's the line, or the color of the line, for for selling transactions or short entries, and you have one color for buying or covering a short trade. You have the ability to change the style, provide information on the order type and the quantity, and also expected P&L. So sometimes if you don't like to see that expected P&L calculation inside parentheses, you can come here and uncheck it if you want. If I had any queued orders, they would use a different color. So let me switch over to, I don't have any shares of Disney. So Disney is trading at 111.79. If I wanted to trade Disney, but only if it comes back up to 115, which is a higher price, I can say, let me do this because I want to see the ability, I want to see the queued orders as well. So I'm going to do an entry, single order long, with one limit and one stop. I want my limit to be at $5 and my stop to be at 2. And I want to do a market order. So I want to send the order and see what happens. Okay, let's do that again because I may have incorrectly placed the trade. I'm going to go over here to OCO, entry single long with bracket. So what I did is I went here to market order, just buy 100 shares. But in this case, I used $5 for my target. And what I didn't do is use a negative number. Always make sure that on the stop, or make sure that if you're going the opposite if you're going to a price that is lower than the current trading price, make sure you use the negative numbers. So it goes on the right direction. I'm going to send the order, and there it is. Oh, I didn't want to use that. So let me go ahead and close my trade. So cancel. Let me close my Disney position. Because what I really wanted to show is queued orders. So I'm going to send an order to buy. Let's do it again. Single long with bracket. Practice makes perfect, right? $5 for the target, -2 of the stop. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a limit order, and I want my limit price to be 105. I send the orders, and there we are. So now if you look at the 2 or the 3 orders that are here, the blue one is an active order, it's an open order, waiting to get filled at 105. The other 2 lines, it's what's called a queued order. So when you format account orders and positions, and over here on their order status, you see the word queued. That is exactly what we're referring to. We're referring to those orders that are contingent and are not yet activated in the exchange. They are on the TradeStation order execution server, but they're waiting for activation, but they're queued so that we have them. You can shut down your TradeStation, and TradeStation has those orders on the server. You can change the color of those orders as well. Canceled orders are usually not displayed. I can choose to display them if I want to. For example, if I choose this and I click OK, and I cancel this order. Let me go ahead and go to cancel. I'm going to cancel the buy Disney at 105. You can see that over here, I can see historical canceled orders. Now, I may want to change the colors here. If I want to see canceled orders, I may want to see them in the color of canceled orders, which is in TradeStation, kind of this orangey color or yellow. I would not use this blue and the red because those are also used for the open orders, and I wouldn't want to confuse those two colors. So again, you have the option to display those canceled orders. It's turned off by default. Same for expired. You can turn those on if you want to. And average price. Average price is what I started off explaining, and I had to hit the brakes and maneuver, because average price is what shows you your open position. So it shows you your average price, and it does say average price because you may enter that position at multiple prices, and it's always going to take all those entry prices and average them together and show you the average price line. You can change how that price line looks, the thickness, the color, and everything else. And that's it. Account orders and positions is a feature that is not very complex, but you have to come in here and decide what you want it to look like, and all the different things that you can turn on and turn off. I'm going to open up the floor for Q&A. Are there any questions related to this functionality, or anything that you didn't quite get that needs a little bit of clarification? This is your chance to put it right here into the chat. Or any other questions. I know that we are we have a few minutes left. So if there's any pressing questions that you may have unrelated to account orders and positions, it's also fine to ask it now. So how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing for a Monday? Markets are tanking, right? There's the Dow opened up 250 points down. Not sure how it did at the beginning of the day, but let's go ahead and check. Let me remove moving averages, remove strategies, and go into a 5-minute. Okay, there we go. So yeah, the market opened, and it wasn't as drastic as it is right now, but we seem to be heading down, or at least that's what this chart is telling me. It opened up at 32,978. We are already at 32,698. So that's almost 300 points lower than what it opened, right? Yes, for sure. Maria is asking for me to post the indicator that we used for the CCI. Is that the CCI on the Bollinger Band strategy that you're referring to? Okay, yeah. Let me look it up, and I'll send it over here in the chat. With the CCI Bollinger Bands combo, here we go, and I'll share it with everyone right here. All right, that's a link for the CCI Bollinger Band combo. Very welcome, Marie. All right, Rich is saying he just got update 63 on TradeStation. He really likes the crosshairs. I just noticed that I have mine turned off. Yeah, one of the new features of TradeStation is the crosshair on the chart. You can notice that if I move my cursor around, I don't have the crosshairs turned on. I think I chose to only see them if I click and hold, because you may like, the way that TradeStation did, things in the past. So you do have the ability to turn those off and only see them when you're clicking and holding. But yeah, settings, preferences gives you access to that feature. Is right here. This is the one that I turned on. Display crosshair lines with down click only. So if I turn that off, then my crosshairs are always on. So by just moving the cursor around the chart, I see the crosshairs displayed right here on the chart, which gives me, price information on the right, and it also gives me date and time information at the bottom. So, which is sometimes convenient, you've seen me many times click and hold on the background just to find the date and the time of the bar. But now I can just, by having this feature on, I can just drag to wherever I want to, and I can see, the date and the time right there at the bottom of the screen. All right, so I'm going to assume there's no additional questions. So thank you guys for joining me today. I want to wish everyone a wonderful afternoon today and tomorrow. Remember that we have 2 sessions, one at 11:30, where we meet for Ask the TradeStation experts. And the following one is at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about, I believe it's MACD and momentum, look at the studies that are part of the TradeStation platform and see how we can customize and make those indicators something that we want, okay? Thank you guys for being here, and I hope to see everyone in a future session. Goodbye, everyone. Talk to you later.